Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply human experience, one that can literally make or break our most important connections. We're talking about how to actually repair a relationship after you've messed up. Moving way beyond a quick, my bad, to uncover the real architecture of a truly sincere apology.
So let's start with a pretty tough question that, frankly, we all have to face at some point. Have you ever hurt someone you deeply love? Or maybe said something in the heat of the moment that you desperately wish you could take back, leaving things kind of hanging by a thread? Well, you're definitely not alone. Misunderstandings and mistakes, they're just baked into the human experience. But here's the thing. What really separates relationships that survive from those that just completely fall apart is accountability. Because let's be honest, those two little words, I'm sorry, they're rarely enough to fix a broken bond. Sure, sometimes they help, but usually they just aren't enough on their own. A meaningful apology isn't just about uttering words, it's a dedicated, active process of rebuilding trust from the ground up.
We can actually organize this whole journey of repair into 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, owning the mistake. This is your absolute, non-negotiable foundation.
See, there's a massive difference between dodging responsibility and truly admitting what you did. Just think about it. Being vague and tossing out an "I'm sorry if you're upset," well, that completely avoids the actual issue, doesn't it? It essentially puts the blame right back on their reaction. But saying something like, "I'm sorry for raising my voice," now that clearly acknowledges your specific actions. And that's exactly when your partner actually feels understood instead of just, dismissed.
And here is one of the quickest ways to absolutely destroy an apology: defending yourself mid-sentence. Saying, "I'm sorry, but you made me angry," instantly, and I mean instantly, weakens the repair. That tiny little word "but" completely erases your accountability. The rule of thumb here: take responsibility first. You can always discuss the bigger picture later when emotions have finally settled down.
Okay, moving right along to phase 2, validating the partner. This is where we step into their shoes to demonstrate some true, genuine empathy.
To pull this off effectively, you really need to hit 3 specific steps. First up, you have to emotionally validate them by acknowledging exactly why they hurt. Say something like, "I can completely see how my actions made you feel unimportant." Second, be explicit. Do not just assume they know how bad you feel. Literally say the words, "I regret hurting you." And third, actually, this is probably the hardest part, listen without getting defensive. After you apologize, you just have to let them vent. No interrupting, no arguing back.
Because a lot of the time, your partner isn't looking for a debate. They aren't looking for some quick explanation of your motives. They just simply need to feel heard. So don't immediately jump in to explain why you did what you did. Just hold space for them. Honestly, giving someone your undivided, non-defensive attention, it's a profoundly powerful way of showing that you truly care about their healing. And this leads us to a really fundamental truth about repair. We basically have to completely reframe our understanding here. It's about asking for forgiveness instead of demanding it, because healing takes real time, and we absolutely must respect that process. Forgiveness is a gift, plain and simple. After apologizing, saying something like, "I hope you'll forgive me when you're ready," gives your partner the breathing room they need. It takes the pressure off and openly acknowledges that you just cannot force the timeline of their emotional recovery.
Which brings us to phase 3, proving it over time. This is where the real, long-term work of repairing the relationship actually happens. You literally have to go step by step to repair the specific damage caused. You have to realize that trust takes real time to return. And, crucially, you have to stop repeating the exact same behavior over and over again. Look, if your mistake caused a huge inconvenience, find a practical way to fix it. If you neglected your partner, start making quality time a top priority again. And you have to be so patient. Trust is almost always rebuilt brick by brick. Expecting everything to just instantly snap back to normal, it's just not realistic.
Because at the end of the day, consistency is the ultimate key to rebuilding confidence. It proves that your apology is about actual healing, not just, trying to end an uncomfortable conversation as fast as possible. Nothing, and I mean nothing, weakens an apology faster than repeating the exact same thing that hurt them in the first place. If you say you're sorry for something, you've got to make a genuine, highly visible effort to improve.
All right, the final piece, the architecture of healing. So how do we actually bring all of this together in our everyday lives? First off, we have to absolutely avoid those toxic phrases that do way more harm than good. Saying, "I'm sorry you feel that way," completely shifts the blame onto them. Asking, "Can we just forget about it?" is just trying to sweep the pain right under the rug. Let's call them what they are. These aren't apologies. They are defense mechanisms, plain and simple. Instead, Healthy couples build their repair on 5 core pillars. It takes honesty and responsibility to admit the fault, deep empathy to understand the pain, patience to wait for forgiveness, and ultimately changed behavior to prove it wasn't just cheap talk. By pausing to ask yourselves, okay, what can we do differently next time? Or how can we communicate better? You ensure you aren't just putting a band-aid on a problem. You're actively strengthening the very foundation of your relationship.
Look, it takes immense courage to apologize sincerely. It really does. But remember, words are merely the key that unlocks the door. It's your ongoing actions, your absolute commitment to living differently, that props that door wide open and actually invites trust to return.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. Out of all the steps we've covered today, from ditching the excuses to showing genuine empathy to actually changing your behavior, what do you think is the most important part of a sincere apology? Take that question with you, and always remember, every mistake is really just a hidden opportunity to build an even stronger connection.